This is the Seahawkers podcast, live and uncatfished. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, joined by my good buddy Adam Emmert as we react to the Seahawks, let's say, win as we out-yarded the Chiefs 333 yards to 297 yards. How about that?
Interesting. Well, first, I just want to say Merry Christmas, bud. Since we're doing this on Christmas, wish it was under better circumstances. Wish we'd won more than, or maybe just the score rather than yards. But didn't happen. And the game was kind of predictable in terms of the way it sort of went there. A little bit frustrating. They had a shot, but they were overwhelmed. And it's the same thing that we've been saying for weeks now, right? They're just not enough talent in the trenches. It's just not there. And it's a big problem. It showed up all day on Saturday. And here we are with another loss.
Here we are. Well, fortunately, throughout the weekend, there were other games that went our way. For one, we just got to see the Broncos lose to the Los Angeles Rams, which I still never know how to feel about games like this. Yes, our draft pick, it was better, but also we had to watch the Rams win. So it's games like that I struggle through.
Yeah, well, you can survive that by just not watching it. So, yeah.
I did unfortunately watch most of it, but again, our draft position increased, and it was 50 points by the LA Rams on the Denver Broncos. So
yeah, that's an embarrassment. Unbelievable.
It was pretty embarrassing. We did get to see a Bobby Wagner interception of Russell Wilson, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So got to cheer.
Well, Jason, I can't abide tonight because Ollie the Mountain Dog just got his first bath in months, and he is locked in the cabin and not excited. He is not happy about it. But maybe next time, maybe Ollie can make an appearance.
That's Jason via the chat saying need more of Adam with his dog. But going back to this game against the Chiefs, yes, maybe somewhat predictable. But at the same time, if you would have told me that Patrick Mahomes would have finished with, a stat line of 16 of 28 for 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, I would have said that maybe we had a better chance to be in the game. And only scoring 10 points is a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, that's the part that's a little surprising. I thought with the Chiefs' pass defense being what it was, that they'd be able to put up a few more points through the air. But oddly enough, they had some of their best success on the ground, especially in the second half against the Chiefs' defense. That's really good against the run. So that part of the game, not so predictable, right? Like that was the exact opposite of what you thought would happen. We did miss Tyler a lot. You could definitely see that. And then Goodwin going down with injury throughout the game. That didn't help matters at all. And, DK, he was doubled almost all day, doubled, tripled the whole 9. Still had a good game in all that. Gino played fine. Nothing that in that game that I would look at and be like, yeah, that's not our guy for the next 2 years. There's no way. He's not a winner. Like I didn't see anything like that.
Well, I guess the part about Gino, obviously you see him working the best when there's a solid run game. But I suppose too, in that second half, they were going for touchdowns rather than field goals at that point. So we saw coaching decisions in this game to where they'd pass up on field goals to try and convert fourth downs. That was one of the coaching decisions I kind of liked because they needed those points. And I think you can look back on each of those drives and say, yes, if they would have scored touchdowns on those drives, that they opted out of the field goals. And if they would have scored touchdowns, then they would have been right in the game come toward the end of the game. Now, it would have been a little bit closer, I suppose. I think before the Chiefs' final touchdown, you could have said, well, then if they make a couple of those field goals, it's, they're within a touchdown or 8 points. It would have been 17-9 at one point, and it would have been a little bit closer, I suppose.
But a little bit closer. And then there was a couple drives too. Like the one that really jumps out to me that I was frustrated with Gino on was was like 3rd and 8 or something like that. And he's moves up in the pocket. It breaks wide open in front of him. And instead of just taking the easy 8-yard run and picking up the first, keeping the drive alive and everything, he decided to make a really difficult pass to Goodwin that he couldn't come up with. I think it was Goodwin. And yeah, and the drive stalls out. You have a couple other that were killed by penalties. And some of those penalties were, let's just say, fucking wrong. This was a tough week to watch from an officiating standpoint. It was so unbelievably lopsided throughout the first part of the game, at least the first half.
Yeah.
But just a lot of calls like that false start that they called on. I guess they called it on Blythe.
They did. They called it on Blythe.
Okay. For being, he must have breathed. I don't know. He was flagged for being a person on the offensive line. That was so egregiously bad. I can't believe it. And then there was another possession where the Chiefs jump off sides, and it's super freaking clear. Like, it's definitely on the Chiefs. And like everybody's starting to go that direction already. And the officials huddle up and come back and like, nope, false start on the Seahawks. It's like, how? Like, there was no, I don't know. There was just a lot of that, and it killed a couple promising drives. And that was tough, especially when the offense was having a hard enough time keeping out of their own way, right?
Barry, a.k.a. Van T, comes in saying, I do feel like Waldron or the offensive scheme has gotten dry, and they aren't helping Geno out much. Not much plays, moving yards, by design catching the opponents unaware. I wanted to piggyback on top of this in terms of the scheme with Tyler out, obviously, with Goodwin going down. I was surprised that we didn't see more of the tight ends out there. And I know the Chiefs tend to be better at covering tight ends, but I would think with that depleted of a receiver core that, why are we rolling out there with Treadwell where he gets 7 targets rather than targeting guys like Disley and Fant and Parkinson more?
Yeah, you would think so. And you think that would work hand in glove with trying to run the ball a little bit more too, right? And
right.
Keeping the defense guessing along the way there. I just, the part of the game plan, like, has it gotten stale? Well, I don't know that it's so much gotten stale. It's that they're just not effective running the football right now, especially between the tackles. Although they did have some success with it this week. It just was too little too late.
Yeah.
I think that's really where the problem all starts and stops, right? They're not able to run the football effectively. And if you can't do that, then all of the magical play action Waldy stuff just doesn't work, or it works okay. And we've been getting by with that against lesser teams, right? But this team, you can't get away with that. Like, they'll make you pay for it and keep the scoring down. And then you got to try to keep up with their offense, which the Seahawks, I mean, defensively, they kept them in check. Like, it's just so frustrating to see the defense play. I don't want to say well, but play
average,
almost acceptable in a game, and then have the offense fall flat, right? Where against Carolina, against the Raiders, if the defense could just step up a little bit, we've got a couple wins there. But fortunately, I guess the Lions lost, the Commanders lost, the Giants lost, and that
only one that didn't go our way was Green Bay beating the Dolphins. Like, we could have used that one, because now there's that potential that Green Bay could sneak in. And I think that's the one team that if we were to tie with Green Bay, that they would have the tiebreaker over Seattle. Whereas I think we would need a 3-way tie between the Lions, the Packers, and the Seahawks, that we would get the 3-way tiebreaker. It's weird how tiebreakers work out that way.
Yeah.
But, there's that potential that we could need another Green Bay loss here down the stretch.
Yeah. And it's totally plausible. They could go out and win these last 2 games too, the Seahawks. And yeah, the Dolphins are always stupid. You're right on the head there, Clinton. But it was a disappointing game, but also too, this is how I felt about most of these. It's just like, well, okay. So they lost. They were competitive. We know where the holes are. And so do John and Pete. And they've got the resources to go after it and fix it this offseason. It's not getting fixed now. And a little better draft pick. Okay.
This game did show the contrast between having someone disruptive in the middle and Ranger Luke saying, we really need a disruptor on the defensive line. I love Captain Thigh Arms, but we're missing that dude that wrecks plays and kills drives. And yeah, the Chiefs have that guy, and he wrecked the offensive line on many occasions.
He did. And in timely moments too. That's when Chris Jones pops up. And yeah, the commenter there, 100% correct. We need that. We need two of those dudes on the offensive line. And, I heard Staten talking about this on his pod last week. And he's like, well, I just hear people say, well, go out and get get Nick Bosa or get Joey Bosa. Well, they don't just grow on trees. So what are you going to do? And it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? You use one of the Broncos' high picks to go out and get one. Or if one of them comes available in free agency, now that the Russ money comes off the book, you can go buy him, right? You can go and bring him in via free agency. It's not like it's a little easier to find the defensive lineman than it is a franchise quarterback. And I'd much rather go out and get those defensive linemen, be almost certain that those high level draft choices are going to be hits and big contributors, than go out and draft a QB high when you have Geno playing at the level that he is. But then again, if they fall in love with somebody like Schneider did with Mahomes,
sure,
or Allen, like, tough to complain there, right? But they got to end up being a Mahomes or an Allen.
Yeah, I'm totally up in the air as far as which way they could go in terms of the draft, because, yeah, for one, I'd have to see who comes available, one, where our position is. Shoot, at this point, with the way that they've made Geno look serviceable and maybe even above serviceable, like an actual good quarterback.
Yeah.
Is there the potential that, hey, if you go out and maybe someone maybe you can franchise Geno Smith, and then you can get another team to give you draft picks, right? To make that trade. Could you do that potentially? And that way you're not having to pay Geno the salary. You can go and spend that money in free agency. You get more draft capital. You draft high on the defensive line. You still have other picks. Maybe you can trade up into the top 10, draft another quarterback with, compiling some of those other picks. Maybe is there a way to have both? And yes, it's at the expense of getting rid of Geno Smith, but you have a young team. They're able to make Geno look pretty good. Is there potential that, yeah, you can make another quarterback look good, improving the offensive line even more?
I think it's an interesting idea. And if you look at just Cowboys-Eagles from yesterday, right? Minshew, he looked like a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah.
On a good team.
The only thing missing was that game-winning drive, right? Where he was able to, if he would have been able to put the ball in the back of the end zone and get that final touchdown of the game to put him ahead. And he had him in position. So,
if their defense had played,
that's supposed to be really good.
That's just it. So they put up, 34 points, I think?
Yeah.
Okay. Points. If you lose and put up 34 points, then that's not an offense problem. I think we can all agree on that. And it definitely wasn't primarily a Minshew problem. But I'm starting to wonder, as I see Cooper Rush, Gardner Minshew, Colt McCoy, Mike White, go down the list, right? Of all these guys who are no-name guys that suddenly come out and when they're on a decent team look really good. I'm starting to wonder if...
Or at least okay. I mean, Brock Purdy, for example, or every single quarterback not named Trey Lance that the 49ers put behind that offensive line.
I'm starting to wonder if the whole you got to have one of those top 5 dudes and pay him a boatload of money is a thing of the past. I think the league might be shifting. If that's the case, then what's happening right now with the Seahawks sputtering down the stretch, and let's say they miss the playoffs, whatever, doesn't matter. Let's say they even lose the next 2 games and Geno doesn't get catastrophically hurt. This is almost the second best outcome that you could hope for. If they're not going to win out and go to the playoffs and all that, then lose out, have Geno look okay, drive his market value down a little bit, because with the franchises somewhere around 35 million, somewhere in there, if you were to franchise him.
I think so.
So I think we can all clearly say probably not worth 35. And I think Geno's camp might try to say that right out of the gate, but realistically, it's not going to be that number. Let's say you pick up Geno for 25 a year. That's half of the big time quarterbacks for a guy who doesn't need a season to sit and learn. Because that's the other part of this. Does Pete really want to sit through the growing pains of another rookie quarterback over the next 2 years? I doubt it.
It might be more beneficial to find yourself a veteran who can come in and at least, be serviceable, be the guy that you can count on to make plays and drive the football down the field and hand the ball off to a pretty decent running back, which I know we have with Ken Walker, 26 carries, 107 yards. Now after the first half, I think it was 10 carries for 10 yards. I think he was averaging a yard per carry. So they definitely were loading up to stop him. But at the same time, it sounded like Walker came to the realization that maybe a lot of fans were saying is, hey, make a decision, put your foot in the ground and go forward rather than trying to break the big play. And he said after the game that was the adjustment that he made going into the second half.
And you could tell the difference. And he had a lot more success. They also had a few of those plays where he made the decision and then just ran directly into the butt of an offensive lineman. He did that maybe 3 times, and that was kind of annoying. But
part of that too was the offensive lineman getting pushed back by that's a stronger defensive lineman. Ranger Luke in with a $9.99 super chat.
Yeah, you're the man, Ranger Luke.
Is that now? Is this from National Lampoons? Right,
I believe it is. Yeah.
Jelly of the Month Club coming up.
Heck yeah. Why not? I'm going to light a tree on fire out here, just, in homage to National Lampoon.
Barry, a.k.a. Van T, with a $1.99 super chat. Win or lose, we have to appreciate this spot.
And Barry's been with us week in, week out, and always has really cool stuff to say. And honestly, he couldn't be more wrong. This is a time of year where you're supposed to be a little more appreciative and thankful about things. And I just think that this team has outperformed any of our wildest dreams in a lot of ways. And at the end of the day, I'm really, really excited about how this can look going forward. And this is going to be one of the most exciting off seasons that we've had in probably a decade. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what they do with all of this draft capital and cap space and with the existing talent on the team and see where they go.
Yeah, there's just so many decisions that they could make this offseason. Which way do they go? Do they decide to stick with Geno? Do they go in a different direction? Do they put Geno in competition with a guy like Gardner Minshew? Or do they say the spots, the open for competition again with, maybe they bring back Drew Lock and do something crazy there? Well, yeah, there's just, a lot of different ways they could go. And a lot of guys coming back to the team with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett's still going to be on the team. Obviously, the running game. Do they bring back Rashad Penny or is he due back for? They signed him for 2 years.
No, I think it was just a 1-year deal.
Was it? So do they bring him back and keep that competition going and have?
I bet they do.
Because it's going to be cheap. I don't think there'd be a ton of people who are banging the table for Penny to come to their team with his injury history.
No. So it will be cheap, and that's nice. So if you can make him the 2 of the 1-2 punch, I think that might be better for everybody's deal. So that could be fun. Plus the throwback unis. Exactly. 100%, Jason. I'm jazzed for those. Those are going to be sweet.
We get to see what those look like, hopefully, in the offseason. How are they going to, because they aren't going to look exactly the same. But same color scheme, obviously, but with the updated look of the new NFL and not the old, unless we go throwback uniforms and just do the old shoulder pads too, like the Sean Alexander, Kenny Easley big. Mm-hmm. That'd be fun to do for just a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be an interesting look. That's for sure. Everybody look a little slower.
Yeah, I just want to see it.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting watching the game between the Rams and the Denver Broncos. One thing that was fun, and I'll have to bring this up on the main show because we had Patrick Starr of SpongeBob SquarePants doing play-by-play. If you watched it on Nickelodeon.
Okay.
And, he had a nice. It was right after the Bobby Wagner interception, where I think he said something to the effect of, "I don't think he meant to cook that."
Not bad. And a little ex-Seahawk on ex-Seahawk crime there. Boz haircuts for all.
Did we do that with the throwback? We shave the lines into the side of our head.
Yeah, gotta grow out a little mullet.
Yeah, I think I don't know about the mullet, but I'd be into doing the sideburn shaving. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, you missed out on this Broncos game. It was fun.
Yeah, I do. I think everybody would look a little slower, but seeing the Broncos lose, that was a welcome Christmas gift. I like it. And yeah, so that's my gift to you today, Brandon, is a slightly higher draft pick. So you're welcome.
You did that for me.
I did. I was
hoping that you would give me a change in the NFL rules to make yards the determinant of the win factor, specifically for this week against the Chiefs. But so now I appreciate the thought of the better draft pick.
Yeah. No, you're welcome.
It's really, I just wanted to tell you it's not really what I wanted.
It's not really what you wanted. Okay. Well, hey, I get that every Christmas from just about everybody. So that works out just right on par. So that's pretty great there.
Get any good Seahawks Christmas gifts?
No, we didn't really do anything. Okay. So just by doing the Santa thing for as long as I did in doing those picks, I don't much care for the holiday, and so we don't really do anything for it.
Brittany could get you like a nice Seahawks hoodie or something, because you've been rocking the Super Bowl 48 one here for almost a good 10 years now.
No, I haven't. I haven't worn that one for a long time. How dare you? That's blasphemy. I would rock a different hoodie, one that, I don't know, maybe promoted my own show, but somebody is hoarding it up in Kalispell and won't get it to me. So
just because I'm a cheapskate and would rather see you in person to be able to hand it to you rather than, I don't know, pay $15 for shipping.
Right. Yeah.
I know we've had at least $15 in super chats since we've started, but really I can't afford to send that to you. You're just gonna have to.
I see how it is. That's fine. Hey, look, you can do whatever you want with your hostage. It's your hostage, and we'll see how the negotiation goes. But no, I'll be up there in a week or two, so we'll grab it then.
Every time you tell me, every time I say that I have something for you, and you're like, oh, I'll be up there in a week, then I never see you. So,
because things change. My schedule changed so much over the last 3 weeks, it's not even funny. Which includes me having to drive down to California tomorrow. And I'll probably be amongst a lot of dirty Niner fans. So that's going to be fun.
Gross.
Yeah.
Going back to this game, looking at some of the other stat lines. Now, how much of the defensive performance, and maybe saying the defense being adequate, 58 yards rushing by the Chiefs, do you put that more? I think this was kind of the same argument from the week before. Is that more on the defense or more on the Chiefs just not hammering the rock like maybe you would want to if you were trying to expose an opponent's weakness?
Oh man, that's all on Andy Reid and the Chiefs. That's exactly how they play football. They've been doing it since Andy Reid's been there. Andy Reid plays like that, or he played like that in Philly too. Not a fan of running the football, wasn't going to commit to it. And so it really worked out. That's why I like this matchup, because I knew they wouldn't change their deal. And it did make it so that it was a lot closer. If the offense could have put anything together with some consistency, that would have been pretty sweet. But they always seem to get bogged down at like the Chiefs 38. That was it. Couldn't get any further.
Well, and that's the thing. There was at one point in the game, because they went 3 and out on their very first drive. They threw the ball 3 times straight out of the gate. And then it was the next drive where they go Pacheco up the middle, Pacheco left side. Then there was a neutral zone infraction. But yeah, 3 straight plays on that very second drive. They ran 3 times in a row. And I'm thinking, oh no, maybe the Chiefs have figured it out and they're just going to run the ball all day. And we're going to get drubbed, 35 points to 10.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out that way. They
didn't work out that way. They didn't stick to it. But probably the biggest backbreaking run of the entire day has to be the Mahomes touchdown run. I didn't think for a second that was a touchdown when I saw it live. I was like, there's no way that hand is in bounds. There's no way there's not a toe out of bounds. There's just no way. But he did it, man. It was a great play by him.
Incredibly, on replay, you saw the hand go down inbounds, no body parts touching the ground as he's laid out horizontally and just touching the nose of the football to the pylon, just to let the officials know that, yes, it did cross the goal line.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to give my dad a call right after we're done doing this for Christmas purposes, right? And he's a big Chiefs fan, so that should be fun.
Yeah. What do you say? Congratulations.
Hey, we're clearly not one of the best 4 or 5 teams in football. We can't beat those teams right now.
Right.
Between the Niners and Chiefs, it just kind of proves out. Now, when you watch these games, it's not as if they're completely inept. So it's not like it's futile. They can definitely figure it out and get the right pieces in here next year. I think they're not that far away.
Clinton joining us in the chat says, I heard there were a series of drops in the second half and didn't see it live. Who were the culprits, or who was the culprit? I seem to remember Treadwell having a couple of those along the sideline. I don't know. He sticks out in my mind.
I'd have to go back and watch it. Usually I try to do that before we do these things if we wait a day and I didn't get an opportunity today. So
Goodwin had,
I don't recall that as being.
I think Goodwin had a drop, if I remember. I don't have the drop stats in front of me, but he did have 4 targets and 0 catches.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the guys who were, that was probably where the biggest disparity in targets to catches were between Treadwell and Goodwin.
Right.
So yeah.
And you'd expect that with Treadwell. That's why he's been bounced around the league at 14 different stops.
Yeah, I'm a little bit shocked that he had 7 targets on the day, but
I'm with you though. I thought that they would get the tight ends involved a lot more, especially Fant in this game, but it just never seemed to materialize.
And then Kelsey, the only receiver on the Chiefs side who had more than 35 yards.
And we knew that was coming.
Yeah, 113 yards on the day on 6 catches for Kelsey.
Yep.
Which seems
got me my one bet.
I would take that.
Yeah. Oh, like you said, if you go back and you just look at the stats of this, short of the score, you're like, yeah, that's the type of game we need to be in. Walker out over 100 yards. What was the turnover differential?
Oh, well, that was the Chiefs didn't turn it over at all.
Yeah.
And then Geno had the one interception, at least that I remember, where he was thrown to the end zone and it almost looked like a throwaway. And the defensive back came up with a great catch there right in the end zone.
I'd have to go back and watch it again. I don't recall that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally we're just doing this right after the game, and it's a little bit easier to remember exactly what we just watched.
Yes. Yes. And I didn't watch other things in between, right? Like other football games and things like that you start to have it all kind of flow together a little bit. But
we had a Christmas party yesterday. It would have seemed rude, I think, to not prepare for the actual Christmas party and record a show. So thanks to everybody for hanging out and waiting a day and joining us today on Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, man. Hope that it's a beautiful day wherever you are. It actually warmed up here after we almost turned into human popsicles midweek. But yeah, it's supposed to be up to 52 tomorrow. It was negative 35, not but 6 days ago.
We're going to go
4 days ago or whatever.
Freezing cold to the mud. Outstanding.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks to everybody who joined in for the live show. Thanks to Clinton for hanging out in the chat. And thanks to everybody else who provided comments, who supported the show through Super Chats. If you want to become a member of the flock, getintheflock.com. And we'll be shouting out all of our folks that join us here throughout the week when we do our regular show coming up a little bit later this week.
Heck yeah, man. All you little flockers are amazing. And hope you guys have an incredible Christmas. And a great New Year, too. If we don't, well, I guess we'll have another show out before then. So never mind. You don't get that wish yet. You got to wait till later in the week. I took it back.
And I will be shouting out to all of the $12 members and above here at the end of the month. So if you want to become a member, now's the time to get in. You'll get your shout out later this week.
Absolutely. And if you don't do it, then it guarantees the Seahawks will not make the playoffs. So it'll be on you. And that's just something that you're going to have to live with.
You just have to live with that.
Yep.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.